let's talk a little bit about the architecture of ChatGPT. ChatGPT uses the NLP or natural language processing architecture, which really sets a new standard. It is really one of the most advanced form of artificial intelligence that we have seen in the market. Now, there are also a lot of other applications that we'll be talking about later, but at this point we are going to be talking a little bit with about ChatGPT because it was really one of the pioneer or one of the earlier ones that came into the market. Its structure, its training, and its innovation had really set it apart from some of the predecessor ChatGPT models, and it has evolved over time. ChatGPT uses a transformer model, and the transformer architecture handles sequential data, making it appropriate for human language problems. And it uses some self-organizing techniques. So, given an example like the bank is open on Sunday, the transformer model self-attention mechanism allows ChatGPT to discern whether the bank is a financial institution or the side of a river based on the context provided by the other words. And it actually goes through some steps of training. So let's talk about the training process. So ChatGPT's training process involves several data sources. It involves some advanced methods and human-guided reinforcement to produce a model that can generate coherent and contextually relevant responses. And this is why it was important earlier when we talked about the tools and the models. Remember, we talked about the decision trees, reinforced learning. So this is where you can see some of this connection as to how the architecture is using some of those models in generating the advanced responses. So the data sources, there are a lot of data sources that are involved in the training methodology of ChatGPT. So it is trained on a diverse data set comprising of a vast amount of internet generated or internet text. This big database enables the model to learn various language patterns, styles, and information. The training process generally involves two stages: the pre-training and the fine-tuning. So during the pre-training process, ChatGPT would learn to predict the next word in a sentence by being exposed to millions of other examples from the internet. Based on those additional examples, more of the fine-tuning adjusts the model's parameters to perform specific kind of task. So it also allows you to structure your writing in a particular style. Of course, it got better as we evolved from our ChatGPT 1 through ChatGPT 4. So it also uses some reinforcement learning from human feedback, which we are referring to as RLHF, reinforcement learning from human feedback. This is also a key aspect of ChatGPT's training process and the architecture. It involves human reviewers making or ranking these outputs generated by the different model versions in response to a specific prompt. So it is very human labor intensive process, and it costs a lot of money. So the model would then use these rankings to learn which types of responses are preferred, enabling to generate more accurate and contextually appropriate outputs. You can see that when you're trying to use an application like in Copilot, where you're trying to, if you enable your Copilot while you're typing your text, your email, you can see it's trying to predict some of the other words depending upon what you had just put in. And when you choose the correct word, it basically keeps that score, and it knows that in most cases, with some of those preemptive words, the next predicted word would be what you have just inputted. So it really keeps on learning as you use your application. So this is how the model would then rank to learn which types of responses are preferred, which would enable more accurate and contextually appropriate outputs the next time you use it. You can ask ChatGPT to create a story, write a poem, and ChatGPT would come in or come back with several versions of that. Human reviewers can then rank these based on creativity, coherence, adherence to the instructions that you have added. So if you say generate a poem, but then you are specific, generate a poem on a particular subject, generate a poem on a particular subject during this timeline, or if you're asking it to write a story but providing it with a theme, providing it with a timeline, and then you are using a human factor, a human being to rank some of these outputs, improving its story writing or poetic generation capabilities. This is a rigorous and a very time-consuming training process, which includes reinforcement learning from human feedback, and that would fine-tune to provide increasingly accurate and context-aware outputs, making it a very, very powerful tool for many of the applications. So it's important to understand the steps that are involved in such a process. What are some of the innovations and improvements? ChatGPT has incorporated several technological advancements to enhance its performance. Of course, one such innovation is using a huge and more diverse training data set, which equips ChatGPT with a broader understanding of a language and information. Additionally, the improvements in models architecture, such as a more efficient attention mechanism, have significantly increased its speed and accuracy. ChatGPT, its ability to maintain context over an extended conversation really sets it apart from some of the previous models. And this is achieved through a sophisticated memory mechanism that helped the model remember and reference earlier part of the conversation. This is also laying up some ground rule as to why is it important to sometimes communicate in sections instead of trying to dump everything in one shot. So when we talk about those, or we have already talked about our zero shot or few shot prompt writing. So this is how it is remembering some of the earlier part of the conversation and giving you a more accurate and focused output. Furthermore, its training process particularly the reinforced learning, it ensures that the responses are informative and aligned with the user's preference and values. So if you're asking ChatGPT, or you're having a conversation with ChatGPT about climate change, it can really make reference points earlier in the discussion. It can cite some of the relevant facts and even adapt its responses based on the conversation cues and your prompting for a particular format, which really showcase its advanced understanding and generation capabilities. ChatGPT is known for its remarkable language comprehension, its response generation, and its creative capabilities. But it also has some limitations, which we will be talking about in the future. So ChatGPT can interpret language, integrate knowledge, and be very creative like humans, just beyond basic text production. So its architecture allows for language comprehension, and it allows to understand context and manages dialogues very effectively, generating human-like text responses. It also has the capability of knowledge integration. So it can integrate knowledge from various sources, providing information across a diverse selection of topics. It can answer questions from historical events to political events, scientific concepts, often providing insights that reflect a wide-ranging understanding of the subjects in question. Of course, one of the standout features of ChatGPT is its creativity and customization. It can customize the response depending upon the question. As we discussed earlier, it can create poems, generate stories, generate codes based on the user prompts. It can produce output depending upon the user's tone, style, and theme preferences, which really shows its creative capabilities. ChatGPT can also sometimes provide extensive explanation, integrate information from other domains. However, there are some limitations that we should all be aware of. So even with such remarkable capabilities, it is important to recognize its limitation, which includes some challenges related to accuracy, ethical concerns, and technical boundaries. So let's get into a little more details about those. So when we talk about the accuracy of information, even though it's using a vast knowledge base, ChatGPT can sometimes struggle with accuracy and the reliability of its response. This is partly because the training data includes information up to a certain point, making some of its knowledge outdated. For example, it may provide incorrect or obsolete information about some of the recent events or advancement in a certain field. You can also have a lot of ethical considerations, and this is a biggie for ChatGPT. So the deployment of ChatGPT does raise several of these ethical concerns. There are potential for biases in the AI responses. There could be privacy issues and the risk of misuse. Now remember the architecture of how ChatGPT is learning. Remember, ChatGPT learns from a vast amount of database that includes biased information. So its responses may sometimes inadvertently perpetuate some of these biases in its output. Additionally, some of the model's ability to generate very convincing text can be exploited to create misleading information or impersonate an individual relating to privacy, which also raises ethical and privacy concerns. When we talk about the technical boundaries, remember, ChatGPT's capabilities are also bounded by technical limitations, such as its dependency on the quality and scope of its training data. It cannot experience or understand the world as human beings do, and this is one of the most limiting technical boundaries between AI and humans. It cannot have the same, or it cannot mimic some of the human experience and the context fully. It might struggle with tasks that requires empathy, that requires a moral judgment, or requires a deep understanding of human emotions and relationships. Understanding this limitation is extremely crucial for the responsible use of ChatGPT. It ensures that its strengths are leveraged appropriately while remaining very mindful of the potential shortcomings, limitation, and ethical implications of ChatGPT. Let's look into some of the real-world applications of ChatGPT. We had referenced it in our lecture before, but I still want to go over a few of these things. So ChatGPT's advanced language comprehension, its response generation, and its knowledge integration capabilities have made it a very, very important tool across various industries. It's been used. From enhancing your educational experiences to streamlining your customer service and looking at some creativity and innovations that it can generate in content creation, ChatGPT is really redefining how businesses and sectors are leveraging AI. Let's look into some of the industry-specific use cases. It does improve innovation. It improves efficiency, procedure, and sometimes can even provide personal or personalized or customized solution in many areas if you are giving them right kind of data. And of course, it can be used in all these industries: education, healthcare, entertainment. So let's look into some of the education. We have already talked about how I have used or I have leveraged the power of AI in applying some design into my slide. Initially, my slide was very vanilla, plain, but I used Copilot to give me some suggestion and I chose some of them. So ease of use was very important for me. I also looked at some of the design styles, and I could choose something, or at least I felt relevant in my slides, although I know fully well that not everything is perfect. It can also be used in education to create some interactive learning materials. You can put the PowerPoint and ask it to generate some question. So you can use the material for some interactive learning, which might actually fit somebody's learning style. It can also generate some practice questions for you to ponder upon. It can give you some instant feedback on assignments. You can use it as a tutor, which I am very big on. I really want students to be appropriately using AI to enhance your learning process. Or if you're working in a particular field, you can use AI or leverage AI to get some efficiency and get some of the mundane work done through AI, but you have to review everything before you actually submit or before you actually complete the process. You can use it as a tutor in a various range of subjects, including mathematics, language, art, making education more accessible, personalized, and go with your own pace. You can see its application in healthcare, where they are leveraging ChatGPT to improve patient engagement and streamline some of the administrative tasks. Chatbots, which are powered by ChatGPT, can provide patients with information on health conditions, guide them through some symptom checking, and even offer mental health support. Now, this is where we are seeing an extensive use of AI. Given the amount of data that is available, it can really make AI agents support mental health to people. It reduces cost. It is available 24/7, and it can be improved with the reinforcement learning that ChatGPT uses. It can also be AI can also be used in administrative duties, scheduling appointments, processing some of the forms, taking some of the intake forms, and enhance operational efficiency. In the field of customer service, you can see it impacting the customer service by powering chatbots to handle various customer queries real time. In retail and banking, retail banking and telecommunication, you can see those ChatGPT driven chatbots offering 24/7 support. It can lead to customer satisfaction and reducing workload on human agents. It can also be used in the entertainment industry to generate creative content. It can write scripts for movies and video games, to compose music and creating artwork. Now, I'll pause a little bit here because I'm sure all of you guys are aware of the intellectual rights and some of the pushbacks that you have seen from that industry. And it's important to understand that even when we are looking for efficiency, there probably is a need for having some governmental policies developed to make sure that the intellectual rights are maintained and AI being used responsibly in those industries. You can also see AI being leveraged or used in innovation and entrepreneurship. Startups, there are companies who are using ChatGPT to develop new business models. Again, more content creation, I'm seeing the use of these AI models in the publishing industry. They are really coming in fast and furious. They add the interactivity, allowing students to interact with the textbook, ask questions, and the knowledge is coming from the textbook material itself. So there is no hallucination, there is no making things up. So the responses is more correct, more authentic, and students can really utilize the feature for enhancing their learning process. There are applications used in legal, financial services which employ ChatGPT to draft documents, create reports, which streamlines the process that requires a lot of human labor. Some of the future potential, really some of the ChatGPT's future potentials are boundless. With more advancements, it opens new avenues for application. It can be used as personal assistance. It can be used as an advanced language learning. It can be used in synthesizing vast amounts of literature. So I think the future is really bright for these AI tools. Let's look a little bit into the evolution and history of ChatGPT. Even though there are other tools, ChatGPT really stands out because it was really one of the early ones that came into the market and really had taken the world, or had really had a big effect on how we are starting to use AI applications in real world. So ChatGPT, or the GPT series, started from 1. Now we are in 4, and of course looking in the future for the next one to come out. AI initially started, or the first generation had really transformed the industry of this GPT, which is the generative pre-trained transformer. OpenAI is the company that had come up with the GPT series, and with each iteration, the GPT series has surpassed its predecessor in sophistication, in capability, and expanded its horizons of where and how AI can be used to achieve better understanding and create better responses mimicking a human being. So the first one, which is GPT-1, started with a groundbreaking model that introduced the potential of transformers to the field of natural language processing. Its ability to generate coherent and contextually relevant text sets the foundation for the future development. GPT-2, the next in the series, built on this and increased the model's size and complexity, which allowed for more detailed text generation. With the evolution of GPT series into GPT-3, or the third version, we really had seen the explosive nature and adoption of GPT. With over 175 billion parameters. GPT further expanded the capabilities of its predecessors, showcasing a very, very impressive range of application, from content creation to answering queries with human-like accuracy, maintaining the context that is given in the prompt. The current version of GPT really stands out because the current version represents the culmination of years of research and deployment and development with the GPT series. It has added new capabilities and applications, marking a milestone in artificial intelligence. So it has gone through some technological advancement. It really pushes the boundaries with even more parameters and a deeper understanding of the language, making ChatGPT 4 the most advanced of AI model in the series. Also, it gives you multimodal capabilities. So unlike your predecessor, we have now extended beyond text, venturing into understanding and generating outputs in other formats like images, bridging the gap between the different types of content. The enhancement of GPT in real world is huge. It can now translate into substantial real world applications where you can really see improved automated customer cares. It can aid you in analyzing complex data and can create content across various industries. It is really setting new standards in all these technological advances with its multimodal capabilities and its real-world impact. Let's look into GPT-4's real-world application. As I mentioned before, this 4 really is a significant leap forward from its predecessors. So when we are talking about its application in businesses, we look into some of the newer features and capabilities. Now, we have already talked about the multimodal application. So we talked about the multimodal applications where it allows you to create visual aids and images other than text. And we already talked about the contextual understanding of GPT. It can remember and reference earlier points in conversation, allowing for more natural and flowing interactions. Another thing that ChatGPT has enhanced is its safety and its ethical considerations. It has prioritized or emphasized improving some of the safety features and its ethical consideration. It has made significant efforts to reduce biases and prevent generation of misinformation that has been that was available in our earlier models or earlier versions. It incorporates some advanced filtering mechanisms and also adds some of the ethical guidelines to mitigate some of those issues with the AI generated content. It really has taken the tool to a more safer and more responsible AI agent in the AI ecosystem. And of course, with all this advancement, it has opened up new avenues for its applications. So you can see applications in business. We already talked about some of the automated content creation. It allows you to create high quality content, reports, marketing. You can create blogs. It can create ad copies, which again lowers some of the turnaround times and giving some, of course, adding to the efficiency and taking away some of the mundane tasks from the human agents. You can see its enhancement in customer service. A lot of ChatGPT 4 driven chatbots to answer questions, process orders, recommend products. It provides a smoother customer experience. It has been used in healthcare applications where they're inundated with patients, and you can use this in medical documentation and research. Medical institution can use this to summarize some of the medical material, which would help the clinician to stay current, and it would save time and enhance patient care by supporting some of the informed decision making that you can see from GPT-4. It also has enhanced patient engagement, interaction and support. We talked about the application of ChatGPT in the education and learning, and also in some of the creative industries. It can generate art. It can be applied in the entertainment. It can really encourage in the creative process. It can be used as a help for writers, for artists to conceive ideas, create newer ideas, which also expands some creativity. We will continue with more discussion of other agents when we get to look into some of the other tools, again, done by OpenAI, where we will explore some of the applications that are specific to images, that are specific to some of the other code writing. So we'll look into more of these things in the future lecture.